The committee will come to order. I'd like to welcome and thank everyone for attending the Subcommittee on Asia and the Pacific's hearing this afternoon. Mr. Barrow, to my left, your right, will be sitting in for the ranking member, Amy Mavega, who cannot be with us here today. Mr. Barrow and I will make opening statements, and other members will be recognized for 1 minute to make a statement if they wish to do so. We wanted to get this off on time because we're going to have votes here shortly, and we'll go over a vote and then come back, but we can get in as much as possible before that. So this hearing was called to further assess the fiscal year 2014 State Department and U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, budget request for the East Asia and the Pacific region. It follows Secretary of State Kerry's and USAID Administrator Shah's testimony received at the full committee last month. And the bells we hear are the votes, but I do think we can get our opening statements in here before that. It follows Secretary of, as I mentioned, the Asia-Pacific region is receiving the largest proposed budget increase of any other region, which makes it critical that we focus on this portion of the budget request and hear from State Department and USAID about how the additional funds for this region will fulfill U.S. priorities and national security objectives. Of particular interest are those nations receiving a significant increase in foreign assistance, notably Burma, Indonesia, and the Philippines. I believe all of us in this room today know how important Asia is, politically, militarily, and economically. The Administration refers to a foreign policy rebalance. Congress has also recognized Asia's importance. In the last 2.5 years, 3 presidents or prime ministers have addressed a joint session of Congress. All 3 have been from the Asia-Pacific region, including South Korea's President Park, who spoke in the Capitol just last week. But while we all note the region's geopolitical significance, such a substantial increase in foreign assistance funding must be justified as providing an equally substantial return on the taxpayer investment. The Asia-Pacific is a region which faces many challenges, among them nuclear proliferation, human trafficking, terrorism, widespread corruption, natural disasters, poverty, and complex security threats, all of which have bilateral and multilateral implications. Today, we have come face to face with what will undoubtedly be one of our greatest challenges in Asia, North Korea's belligerence and nuclear ambitions. We also have major concerns about China's growing political and economic influence throughout the region and its aggression in the South and East China Seas. In the face of such challenges, no single one-track approach to ensuring U.S. national security interests and priorities will suffice, but it must be multi-pronged. I hope the witnesses here today will elaborate on the Administration's plans for confronting these threats. The Administration seeks a $53.3 million budget increase for the Asia-Pacific region. It proposes expanding foreign assistance with the goals of strengthening regional security, enhancing economic integration, developing the lower Mekong region, supporting democratic developments, and addressing war legacies. In today's fiscal environment, as we face our own nearly $16.8 trillion national debt, this $53.3 million is not chump change. The entire Asia-Pacific budget of $1.2 billion must be thoroughly examined. For example, the Administration is providing Burma with an additional $28.8 million. While we have seen tremendous progress over the course of only 2 years, Burma is fraught with ongoing violence in the ethnic areas, which in many cases is being perpetrated by the Burmese military. There are few signs reconciliation is forthcoming, and reforms have yet to benefit Burma's diverse communities. Our U.S. Embassy staff on the ground cannot travel outside specified zones, and there have been roughly 1,300 additional people unlawfully detained in the ethnic areas. I think President Thein Sein's visit to the White House next week is perhaps a bit premature. While we have seen advances, it is too early, in my view, to proclaim a new day in Burma. In addition, I am aware that the Administration is considering providing military assistance to Burma. Frankly, I believe with the slow-moving reform process and numerous human rights issues remaining in Burma, that considering providing military aid is probably premature and may face considerable opposition in this Congress. Similarly, the increase in military assistance in Cambodia, I believe, may very well be unwarranted, and I hope today's witnesses will explain the reasoning behind this request. There are many other areas of concern that I'm sure my colleagues will address this afternoon, one of them the continuing and unjustified assistance to Beijing that is aimed at promoting job growth in China. When many Americans are still struggling to make ends meet and find jobs, we should not be using American tax dollars to subsidize a country that owns $1.2 trillion of U.S. debt, steals our technologies, and puts U.S. companies out of business and American workers oftentimes out of work. I welcome increased U.S. attention and engagement in Asia because our economic, security, and political development depends on the success of each other. At the same time, our strategy needs to be judicious and discerning. We should not be funding projects just because we can. The truth is we can't afford to take that approach anymore. I look forward to hearing from our distinguished witnesses this afternoon, and I now yield to Mr. Barra for his opening remarks, if he can make them in 5 minutes.
Absolutely.